Perfect. So I'm Catie from Mass General, and Brian is also on the call today. And so this is just a quick overview of our center. So here's a list of all of our team members. We have a pretty large clinic. So Dr. Eichler is the director. Some new faces to our team this year. Alyssa Helper is our new pediatric endocrinologist. Dr. Wishart came a little after this event last year, I think, and he is our rehab specialist, which has been a real blessing to have him in clinic with us. And then we also now have a genetic counselor, finally, Helen, who I think was going to try to join for part of this as well. We continue to be able to do transplants for both adult patients and children. The adults are transplanted at MGH, and the children we transplant over at Children's Hospital of Boston. We usually have a weekly clinic every Wednesday, a full day clinic. Of course, right now, like all the clinics, we're in a different kind of place. And so we're currently doing virtual visits. We are able to still right now do new patients also through virtual visits, and those can still be multidisciplinary. Here's a view of the types of leukodystrophies we see. So you can see there's a large range, although certainly the largest population of patients we see are both adults and children with ALD. This is just to give you a sense of the growth of the clinic over the last few years. And then the fact that we see about even of children and adults now. These are the sponsored trials we have as of right now, with several of these kind of on hold in this startup phase. So the Canavan, Tay-Sex, gene therapy trials, we had hoped to have open sometime this year. I don't know the new timeline for those, but you can see we have quite a few active trials. And then this is a list of non-sponsored trials, so trials that we're just doing kind of more in-house. So we have a pretty active research team. And then this is how you could contact us and our patient services coordinator, who really would do all the scheduling and keep us all on top of things. That's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Catie. Okay, up next, I have Dr. Ali Fatemi from Kennedy Krieger.
Okay, let me give it a shot, see if I can do it this time. There. You see my screen?
We do.
Good. All right. So, yeah, good morning, everybody. So I'm Ali Fatemi. I'm the director of the Moser Center at the Kennedy Krieger Institute, which is an affiliate of Johns Hopkins. This is our patient center that you can see right there. I thought I'd mention briefly the history.
I'm sorry, Dr. Fatemi. We see a website. I don't see a presentation.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Hold on. Screen share. I used to be not so technically challenged when I was younger. How about this one? Is this the right one?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. All right. So this is the Institute's outpatient center, this picture. I thought I would just go briefly mention why we are called the way we are. So Hugo Moser was the former president of the so-called Kennedy Institute before it became the Kennedy Krieger Institute, and was probably could be rightly termed the father in the field of leukodystrophies. But he started working basically in the early 1960s on these diseases, and had focused pretty much the last 20 years or 30 years of his life on adrenal leukodystrophy. He and his wife, Ann Moser, were the first to identify basically the biochemical defect here. And they mentored many people. I'm one of them, but others like Dr. Eichler was mentioned, was a former postdoc there, Dr. Van de Kamp from Netherlands, Dr. Gerald Raymond, Wolfgang Köhler from Germany, Dr. Naidu. I had sort of the great privilege to step into those really big shoes. And we tried to expand that program to make it more contemporary with today's sort of care model, and so made it a multidisciplinary sort of service in 2013. His wife is still very active at the Institute. We basically have a clinical program and a research program. The clinical team is listed here. Fortunately for us, we are growing pretty quickly, so I have 2 new members where I don't even have yet a mugshot. So I apologize to them for not having their picture, but I should have done my homework a little earlier. So the most recent additions have been Dr. Amina Smith, who's a neurodevelopmental pediatrician trained here and is working on leukodystrophies and motor outcomes. She's basically acting as a neurologist there, but she's also trained as a developmental pediatrician. We have Tanya Thomas, who's a nurse practitioner who has been now with us for a year, getting her expertise in leukodystrophies. And we have Kathleen King, who's a nurse coordinator, who joined Kim, who's our LCN nurse coordinator, and both of them are now helping out with the leukodystrophy services. Kim, just might mention her, Kim Hollandsworth has been dealing with leukodystrophies for almost 30 years, even though she's only 25, and is really, really well recognized within the field as such. And I think some of you might have heard her yesterday. But we have lots of other people, as you can see here. Dr. Melissa Trovato is the associate director of the program. She's a pediatric rehabilitation medicine doctor. And Connor is our coordinator, who's really keeping the whole thing together. So the services we provide is basically interdisciplinary. As you can see, pretty much all the specialties that we need. We have, in addition, of course, occupational therapy, speech therapy, nutrition, GI, pulmonary, and cardiology as needed. But this is the core team members. The people you saw on that previous slide are the core team members. They're there pretty much every time. In addition, just wanted to mention that, like most other programs, I think that only about 1/3 of our patients, so the orange fraction here, are local patients from Maryland. Maryland is a small state. So the majority of our patients are coming from other sites. Although, close to half of them are regional, because we are a pretty big region here with the DC, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania all combined. And lastly, I just wanted to show our research team. There is really a relatively big group size of people in the lab and also on the clinical trial side. This was pre-COVID, this picture. This was Christmas, as you can see. This is at our house. And I'm just going to stop there. Thank you. Oh, in case anybody wants to get a hold of us, just go type in Moser Center for Leukodystrophies, and you'll find us with emails and phone numbers and everything.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Fatemi. Next, we have Dr. Joanne Kurtzberg from Duke.
Joanne, you're muted.
You're muted, Dr. Kurtzberg, sorry. I thought you were just setting things up.
Yeah, I was talking to myself, sorry.
We hear you now, so be careful what you say.
Okay, can you see the full screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I will give you a quick overview of our LCN Center at Duke. And I'm the director of the center, and Tara West, who's also on, is our LCN coordinator. And now, hold on a minute. Okay, so just for a little history, Duke really has had a very long-standing commitment to children with leukodystrophies. We pioneered the use of cord blood transplantation for kids with leukodystrophies and inherited metabolic diseases over 20 years ago, and we've performed over 350 transplants actually, and nearly 60 in babies and children with Krabbe Duke also has developed enzyme therapy for a variety of inborn errors, including myozyme for Pompe disease. They are currently, through our genetics and metabolism group, involved in gene therapy for DMD and SMA. We have a comprehensive care program to support patients, parents, and families through the transplant process. If families come here for transplant, we've conducted many different types of novel research to improve outcomes. We've been long-term advocates for newborn screening and have an ongoing commitment to improve care, quality of life, and research. And we have really a long-standing understanding of the challenges that face the field. Our philosophy is to deliver the highest quality, comprehensive family-centered care to all children we care for at Duke. We treat the whole child and their family and support them through diagnosis, treatment, and follow-up care. And we hope to learn from every child and every family to make things better for the next child and the next family. This is our core team for our LCN. And I won't go through everyone, but I will mention that we have an addition this year in pediatric rehab, Dr. Christopher Lunsford, which has really been great because it's increased the number of services that we can give for rehab, Botox, and then creative types of both local and long distance therapy programs for kids. We also have an extended team which grew out of our transplant program, but which services all patients who we treat, and that includes social work, child life, financial counselors, school if people are here for long-term therapy, or music therapy, and the other things listed on the slide. I will say with COVID, we've had to make some of these therapies remote, but they still exist for patients who are cared for at Duke. We have several different types of care facilities, including our inpatient unit, which is a 16-bed dedicated unit in the main hospital. We have a clinic in the Children's Health Center. In that clinic is a day hospital that's open 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And then we can see outpatients on our inpatient unit for other times they may need care when the day hospital or the clinic is not open. We have dedicated pediatric services for the operating room for anesthesia and sedation. We do now with COVID have telemedicine capabilities for outpatient visits and consultations. Another unique thing I think in our center is that we have a cell therapy program which supports both GMP clean room manufacturing, and we have a public cord blood bank which is FDA licensed called the Carolinas Cord Blood Bank. This is just a picture of the hospital's lobby on the left and the day hospital on the right. We also have a Ronald McDonald House for staying. Some other local housing we coordinate through our family support program and other patient and family support activities that are run through our family support program, which is a philanthropically funded outgrowth of our transplant program. We have a lot of activities for kids to build incentive programs. This is just a picture of a kid who won Super Stepper of the Week, but we have many different kinds of programs to enhance the experience of children who come here for care. We have all the usual complement of pediatric subspecialties that you would find in a large children's hospital. And for treatment, we really focus on all aspects of care. We have many types of programs for treatment with curative intent, but we also provide supportive care, palliative care, and care that is really targeted at maximizing quality of life. And I know Tara and I both remotely support a number of families who either came here once or couldn't come here at all, but where their child's not eligible for transplant, but still needs care, support, and we work through their local doctors to help families access the support they need in their own community. This just shows cumulative transplants at Duke. So we're nearing about 2,300 transplants in the life of our program, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this September. And then this just shows you kind of the amount per year based on activity. We had our high point in about 2005. That was when there was a randomized trial for cord blood transplantation in leukemia. And since that time, more centers have done or imported cord blood transplantation into their own book of work, so that children don't have to travel to come to get that kind of a transplant any longer. And this just shows you different kinds of activities in our program. So we perform autologous, matched sibling, unrelated, or haplo and unrelated cord blood and adult donor transplants. And then in green, you can see we have a big program in brain injury for cord blood infusion and MSC infusion. And Duke is also doing thymus transplants for babies with George. And all of that is handled by our program and in our unit. And this just shows you transplants by disease. So you can see that we transplant a wide variety of diagnoses, but again, focus on children with early symptoms and early disease. Types of transplants we perform in the allogeneic setting focus on cord blood, but we do all other types as needed. And we and others have shown that transplanting children with leukodystrophies and metabolic diseases really needs to be done as shown in the red line in the early phases of disease in order for the transplant to be successful. So as we all know, newborn screening is really important to catch these kids early and treat them before their disease really becomes symptomatic. For Krabbe disease, we've been a center doing cord blood transplant as a predominant therapy for many, many years, and have long-term 90% survival in infants, newborns, I should say. And then this blue line is juvenile disease, so about 75% survival in patients with juvenile disease compared to symptomatic patients where we don't perform the procedure any longer. We've also spent a lot of time looking at long-term outcomes of transplantation and published this paper last year, which really emphasized that transplant before 30 days of age, which is a lot to accomplish when you realize that means confirm a diagnosis, make a referral, do a workup, find a donor, do 10 days or so of chemotherapy, and then the transplant. But this just shows you outcomes from a paper we published last year where if babies were transplanted under 30 days of age, in the top, the green are normal outcomes for mobility, communication, and feeding. The red are abnormalities in those outcomes. And you can see the ratio of red to green in the top where babies are under 30 days of age, and the bottom where babies were over 30 days of age, but I have to say not much older, only a few weeks older than 30 days of age. So again, early referral and early treatment is imperative. For research, we have a 30-year track record in transplantation and all the critical infrastructure that's needed to carry that out rapidly and efficiently and successfully. We also are doing research on cell therapies that can augment transplant or gene therapy for kids with leukodystrophies, and we have a study called DUOC, which is a microglial cell we're giving into the spinal fluid after a transplant. And we're exploring uses of cord tissue-derived, what's called MSCs, or mesenchymal stromal cells, which may also, as an anti-inflammatory cell, help slow down disease progression. We've had trials in utero transplantation, enzyme therapy, and are participating in selective gene therapy trials as well. So it takes a village. We have a large team. We really want to help. We're here to be kind of at your service. And we thank everyone on our team and everyone in the LCN and Hunter's Hope for making this a possibility. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Kurtzberg. Okay, we're gonna go to Dr. Bonkowsky now.
Thanks, Anna. Sorry, I had to switch computers around, so a little panic moment there. So let's make sure I can do this. And does that look okay for folks?
Yep, you're good.
So I'm Josh Bonkowsky, and I'll be talking briefly about the Leukodystrophy Center, which is part of the Hunter's Hope Leukodystrophy Care Network. And this is at the Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is partners with the Department of Pediatrics at the University of Utah. So we are in this area here in the middle of the country, or slightly to the left of the middle of the country, I guess. And it's a very large geographic area. And so we end up providing care for a large number of children. So it's a region known as the Intermountain West. So it's kind of between the Rocky Mountains on our eastern side, the Sierra Nevadas on the western side, and down to the Grand Canyon and up north to the Canadian border. So even though it's a less densely populated area, it's a very large geographical area. And we're really special in that we provide our care through a partnership, and the partnership is between the University of Utah and Primary Children's Hospital, and the motto at the hospital is "The Child First and Always." And this is actually a motto from Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and these are pictures of Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. A picture of the ward back at the turn of the century. It's very different now, of course. And then a picture of the external part of the hospital in London. And so at Primary Children's Hospital, the building itself, the staff, the administration is run by a group called Intermountain Healthcare, which is a large not-for-profit system. It's kind of the Kaiser Permanente of the Intermountain West. But then all the physicians and the academics are from the University of Utah, so it's a really special partnership. And so we have joint research and clinical missions, a lot of outreach, and it's a great partnership, kind of the best of both worlds. And so just to give you a picture of what it looks like right now, the hospital here is shown on the right, and so this is the outpatient building in the foreground, and in the background here is the inpatient hospital with this bridge connecting them. And this is a picture of the University of Utah, the academic center, and the different university buildings. So Primary Children's Hospital ends up providing all of both kind of the primary care for children in the region as well as tertiary care for lots of surrounding states. Because it's the only children's hospital in the region, it essentially provides all specialty care, including leukodystrophy care for all these children. It's about a 500-mile radius till you get to another children's hospital. So lots of births captured in this hospital as well because of the high birth rate in Utah and some of the surrounding states. So we're really lucky that we have a great team working at our center. So there's myself as the director, Emily Hardy, whose picture is shown here at the right, and who will be on the care coordinator call later today. So we're really fortunate to have Emily working with us. If you haven't had a chance to meet her either on Zoom or in person, she is a fabulous person. We have a big team of people who help in the care of our patients with leukodystrophy. So we have Gary Nelson, as well as a bunch of other pediatric neurologists in our group. Our gene therapy and clinical trials group is headed by Russ Butterfield. We have a large PM&R group, Allison Oakey and others in that group, complex care physician group, genetic counselor, transplant physicians for our bone marrow transplants, neuroradiology. We have a great neuroradiology team, and then many, I don't want to say ancillary, but services when we need them in other things like physical therapy, occupational therapy, GI, pulmonary, all these specialties. We have close partnerships with to take care of all the children. So we have large research programs, both in gene therapy, and then also we have active bone marrow transplant program, as well as research in that. We also are launching this year a big diagnosis effort called Hereditary Pediatrics. It's not just for leukodystrophies, but it does include, of course, leukodystrophy patients, and so this will be about 50,000 children, so really the largest study of its kind in the world, so we're very excited about that. And then last year, we also launched a new center for therapy discovery. Again, it's not just leukodystrophies, but it includes leukodystrophies. It's called the Cures Institute. Let's make sure I do this correctly. So clinical care includes both inpatient and outpatient care. It's the same team, kind of working across both inpatient and outpatient worlds. We have a specialized clinic for children and families with leukodystrophies. We see both adults and children, just because, again, there's not other adult specialists in the region, and so we end up having them refer to us, and we're very efficient at kind of rapid care coordination on an as needed basis. If a family needs to get into us or has a new diagnosis, we'll do our best to get people in within a day or so of their diagnosis. So we basically see all diagnoses here at Primary Children's Hospital. Currently, we have somewhere in the order of 150 to 200 families who are actively following. We've had other families, of course, where unfortunately we've lost the affected member, and so we've had a larger group, but of course, at any one time, about 150 to 200 families. We get people coming from a long distance to see us, of course, here in Utah, then also Nevada, Montana, Idaho, Arizona, Wyoming, and Colorado. We also have many families coming to see us here. And we're doing both in-person visits as well as telehealth visits. And thanks for letting me talk, and feel free to reach out if you have questions, either by email or if you want to give me a call sometime.
Great, thank you, Dr. Bonkowsky. Next we have Dr. Stephanie Keller from Atlanta.
Hello, 1 second. All right, so I'm Stephanie Keller. I am the pediatric neurologist at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. We're associated with Emory University. So this is a couple of our buildings here. We like to show off our pretty buildings. So the one on the left is one of the hospitals. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is made up of 3 hospitals. There's Scottish Rite, Eggleston, and Hugh Spalding. The picture on the left is Eggleston Hospital. We are actually building a new children's hospital that should be open in 2025 to help combine some of our services. We also have a new outpatient center called our Center for Advanced Pediatrics, which is the picture on the right, that opened, I guess, about 1.5 years ago to 2 years ago. And that's where we hold our leukodystrophy clinic. To give you overview of who all is in our clinic. Our clinic is a full day once a month, and then I also see some patients with leukodystrophies outside of that clinic as well. But this is our team that we have in clinic. We have 2 fabulous rehabilitation doctors, physiatry doctors, Dr. Bonkowsky and then Dr. Kulkarni, and they kind of rotate staffing that clinic with us. We also have our physical therapist who's in the middle down here, Toddy Ritchie, and then we have Rachel Logan, who is our genetic counselor, and then Selena Kayla, who's also on the line, is our coordinator. I don't have pictured here Levada Doxy. She's a social worker that lives with us, that works with us also. And then some associated members of our clinic that aren't actually in clinic, but we work with a lot. Dr. Marcus is on the far right here. He's with neuropsychology. Dr. Kadam is with neuroradiology. She evaluates a lot of the MRIs with me and helps with scoring some of those pictures. And then not pictured here is Dr. Parikh, who is a stem cell transplant doctor who used to work with Dr. Kurtzberg at Duke and who's joined us in the last year. So we've been happy to have him. Also, I didn't mention here, but we have Dr. Leo with endocrinology, has also taken an interest in our patients with ALD and is helping to see those patients. And we try to coordinate patients or appointments with him and our clinic also to avoid overlapping appointments for patients. Just a few facts about our center. So our clinic was established in 2016. We've seen about 118 patients with various leukodystrophies. The most common one I think we see is Pediatric disease, followed by metachromatic leukodystrophy, but various others. We became a certified center for the Leukodystrophy Care Network in 2019. We're also part of the Global Leukodystrophy Initiative Clinical Trials Network with some of the other people mentioned here in the group. I'm really mainly a clinician and clinical based, but starting to dabble in research. So we'll be hopefully starting to recruit for some of those natural history studies in the next few months. And then working on research with the Leukodystrophy Care Network as well. I'm also a recent board member for the United Leukodystrophy Foundation. And so we see mostly patients from Georgia, but also the surrounding area as well. If anybody wants to get a hold of us, there is our big long address for our website at the bottom of the page there, but the easiest thing is just Google CHOA and Leukodystrophies and you'll come up with our webpage. And then you can find a link there for our email address. You can email me directly or the Leukodystrophy Clinic at choa.org. You'll get to me and Selena and we can help you out with anything you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keller. Next, we have Dr. Jen Rubin from Chicago, and there are some questions in the chat. So if any of our panelists want to answer those, that would be great.
Hi.
Hi there.
Okay, so hi, I'm Jen Rubin from Chicago. I work at the Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago. And if you're not familiar, this was a new building that was a new children's hospital that was opened in 2012. It's downtown on the Northwestern campus, so it's adjacent to Northwestern Hospital and the Prentice Women's Hospital, and near the new Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, which is the #1 rehab hospital in the country. We're fortunate to be located close in proximity to them. So I'm one of the directors of the Leukodystrophy program. We're also fortunate to have a geneticist, Dr. Barbara Burton. Our care coordinator is Rachel Hickey, who's a certified genetic counselor. We also have nursing support and Invaluables, our social work support. And we also have a very active palliative care team with the division head, Alicia Waldman, and one of the nurse practitioners, Jen Mayer, who also comes to see patients with us. We are similar to the cystic fibrosis community that's looking at incorporating early palliative care. So a lot of people, when they think about palliative care, think about hospice care, but palliative care is actually just an integrative, patient-centered focus on symptom management, quality of life, and it's in tandem with any kind of any other treatment, stem cell transplant, so they're not mutually exclusive. So we see the outpatient palliative care team comes and sees our patients early in their disease course so they can get to know these kids who have a potentially life-limiting condition. We believe that patients with leukodystrophies deserve compassionate, cutting-edge care at all stages of their disease, and our goal is to promote the best possible quality of life for patients and their families. Our clinic was one of the inaugural multidisciplinary clinics, was started in 2016, and it was initially just a quarterly half-day clinic with urgent patients seen as needed. And then beginning this year in July, it's a full day, once monthly clinic. So we've really expanded. We are a local referral center for babies identified via newborn state screening. So we now have newborn screening, thank goodness, for Krabbe and ALD. We've transplanted several children. And we are a site of the intrathecal enzyme replacement therapy for late infantile metachromatic leukodystrophy. And we are one of the sites of Duke's study that's looking at outcomes of the state screen in Krabbe disease. These are some of the conditions we've taken care of. So as you can see, it runs the gamut of leukodystrophies, and including, like I said, the Krabbe and ALD, which are now part of the newborn state screening program. So we see a wide variety of leukodystrophies at our center. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Rubin.
Yeah.
We have two more doctors to hear from. First, we'll hear from Dr. Eric Mallack.
Thank you very much, Anna. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm just going to go through our website. Can everyone hear me okay? See my screen? So yes. My name is Eric Mallack. I'm a pediatric neurologist and the director of the new Leukodystrophy Center at Weill Cornell. We serve the New York City area, including our outer boroughs, New Jersey, Connecticut, sort of tri-state area, and anyone else and everyone else is welcome. So our clinic right now runs a half a day, twice a month. I see pediatric patients and adult patients, so we have a combined program there. And pediatric patients are cared for in a multidisciplinary fashion, and all the subspecialties at Cornell are available to all of our patients. Our contact information is right here sort of on the website. And it used to be pre-COVID days that we would have our pediatric leukodystrophy clinic on Wednesdays, where patients would get their MRI, see myself, any of the other subspecialists that are needed. And then the adult leukodystrophy clinic happened on Monday mornings. Now we do telehealth until we can kind of get past the COVID era. But if there are any questions, referrals, anything that's needed, our phone number, our email are right here, and Rebecca is the master coordinator for all the patients and moving parts that make up our leukodystrophy clinic. So I think one of the particular strengths of our program is we are affiliated with New York Presbyterian Hospital System. Our children's hospital is the Komansky Children's Hospital. And it's a system made up of about 9 hospitals across the tri-state area. And we partner and work with the newborn screening program for any of the newborn screened leukodystrophies. And we are also lucky to be one of the states where MLD is actually going to be piloted on the newborn screen in the coming year. So we're working with the group there to help care for identified patients. So we have a nice clinic, a nice infrastructure, but like I said, I think one of our particular strengths are we are closely affiliated, and we have a joint program with Memorial Sloan Kettering Kids, where I am also faculty there, and the clinic is directly across the street from MSK. So in the event that patients need to undergo hematopoietic stem cell transplant, those patients get referred and quite literally walked across the street to work with our team. The new chair of pediatric stem cell transplant is Dr. Bolins here. He came to us from Utrecht. He's got deep expertise in metabolic transplant, and we pulled him over from Europe last year to be the chief of our division. And so I'm not going to read everybody off here, but as you can see, we have a pretty well-rounded out team. Linda Heyer is the chair of neuroradiology, who does all of our imaging. We have particular strengths in imaging. And one of the things that I think we're starting to excel in is imaging patients with leukodystrophies with higher sensitive myelin imaging. And we have programs to try to graduate kids out of need for sedation for their MRIs. So we have a fun program with Child Life that gets kids in the scanner. Our most recent patient was 4 years old and was able to make it through a 45-minute MRI with no sedation. So we have some nice infrastructure there. We have our genetic counselor who works with us in clinic, and we have a neurodietitian who runs our ketogenic program, plus any exclusion diets that may be of interest to the patients with the leukodystrophies. Helena was our clinical research coordinator. She has since moved to med school, and we just hired our new clinic research coordinator. Her name is Catie Gao, and she will be meeting you all shortly in the coming future. Our research program, we do some clinical research. I also do some imaging research. We have clinical trials that are run out of the clinic. We are just about finishing up an international gene therapy trial in MPS IIIA, Sanfilippo syndrome. And then we have an undiagnosed disease program where we see a lot of monogenic disorders, including the leukodystrophies. That's the other hat I wear, and that's through the Center for Neurogenetics. And so on our website, we have lots of resources for patients, and then we hold events to try to bring the community together and build out a culture that is looking to care for patients with leukodystrophies in New York City. I do just want to share one thing. I just actually discovered this morning, clicking through the website. Weill Cornell Medicine was nice enough to feature our center on their social media page and their homepage, and they put up a story about some of the work we're doing here. So I have to thank the LCN and Hunter's Hope for really providing the support to allow our center to grow and to sort of build out this culture where we care for leukodystrophies in New York City and the surrounding area. And so I'm available to anybody, and you have our info, and happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you so much, Eric, Dr. Mallack.
Eric
I was reading Eric Mallack on your name tag. All right. Last but not least is Dr. Stone. We are running behind, so there are questions in the chat, and we'll just answer them there. So we're just going to do the best we can with the time.
All right, I'm Rod Stone. I'm a child neurologist at University of Rochester, Golisano Children's Hospital. And I'm the director of our Leukodystrophy Care Center, which is a relatively newer center that we've had for a little bit over 2 years. And our mission, much like everybody else that's spoke to you this morning, is really to have a positive impact on the quality of life for individuals and families with these conditions. And it's particularly important to us to provide highly accessible care. We serve the greater upstate New York area for families that are looking for expertise in leukodystrophy care. And it's important to me and my team to be very open and accessible to our families. So you could see here our core team members, myself, I have expertise in white matter disorders. Our associate director, Dr. Bonkowsky, is a neurogenetic specialist. Elaine Phillipson is a nurse practitioner who is our center care coordinator, who is just outstanding at working with our families and making sure that they're provided with the best coordinated care. Catie Wright is our nurse specialist for the center. We also have a full-time genetic counselor to work with our families, as well as a full-time social worker. In addition to our core team, we have a group of affiliated or sort of an extended team, as others had mentioned, like most of the other centers. And you can see the different specialists that we have in our affiliated team. And much like Dr. Rubin discussed at Chicago, actually we, starting next month in August, are going to be incorporating a specific palliative care specialist into our core team, who's going to be seeing our patients right at the onset of their visits to initiate that palliative care relationship. As a result of the COVID pandemic, we're fully up and running like most of the other centers in terms of telemedicine, and utilize telemedicine to be able to provide care to a relatively large geographical region for individuals who have trouble traveling to see us. And although we don't do as much specific high-level research at our center, thanks to Hunter's Hope and the LCN, we have a lot of connections with all of these great care centers throughout the country, and our patients get to benefit from our connections that we can utilize with all these different great research programs. So if you're interested in coming to our center, if you live in upstate New York particularly, please feel free to reach out to me, give us a call or email you'll find on our website, or you could reach out to Anna at Hunter's Hope. She's excellent at finding me when families need to get in touch with us. Thanks.